Hey everybody, welcome back to Northernlion Plays the Binding of Isaac AFTERBIRTH Plus. 4 wins in a row. You can't really focus on that. You gotta be like, okay, we got 24 wins out of the last 25. That sounds way better. 6 FP7 VTZM. Honestly, stats is a real could be better, could be worse sort of situation. Rate of fire is horrible. Damage is pretty good. You won't hear me say it all that much, but having Sister Maggie... Oh, it's not an XL? Not an XL, okay. Having Sister Maggie actually helps. Not really very much. Don't give me... Okay, range down is fine. No addicted. Verp, range down. Beautiful. Well, all we need is 15 cents a key and PhD, and then we can get a range upgrade. Well, alright, the juice ain't worth the squeeze. Mr. Boom is also a pretty okay starting item that allows us to do stuff like that. This seems fine so far. I didn't expect to have to record an Isaac episode today. I know that sounds like it's phrased in a negative capacity. But, you know, this weekend, this Thursday actually, which is tomorrow for me, I'm going to sunny Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. Did I have to think about what state it was in? Yes, but only for a brief moment, okay? To go to Josh's wedding. So I was looking at the videos and I'm like, I got enough videos, but I would definitely rather have one more video so that, like, you don't want to... It's not a long trip, necessarily. Don't ever take damage there. Like, I definitely, like, I don't complain about long flights, necessarily. I complain about many flights, and unfortunately, no matter how you slice it, unless you're Chip Wilson, founder of Lululemon, and you're flying in your private jet, you're not going from Vancouver to Pittsburgh without a connection. And I'm not, you know, oh, little baby can't take a direct flight, but like, honestly, a direct flight is just like... is so much better than having to make a connection, even if the connection is only like, you know, 45 minutes. Like, when Kate and I have gone to Japan or like Korea, it seems like a really, really long trip. You're like North America to Asia, but first off, we're right on the Pacific coast. You know, literally all we gotta do is cross like a really huge ocean. But anyway, but it's just, you get on the plane in Vancouver, you watch, admittedly, 4 movies, and then you're there. It's not that bad, you know? Whereas, when we go to, like, my family, like, my hometown, I should say, it's substantially less far. Like, just in terms of sheer kilometers, right? But first we gotta fly to Toronto, and then we gotta wait in Toronto for, you know, sometimes 15 minutes, which is stressful in its own way, and sometimes, you know, 3 hours. And then we get on another plane that's much tinier and we go to my hometown, you know? So it's, I'm not saying it's less time, but, you know, when I'm being 100% honest, I guess this is a first world conversation here, okay? That's not lost on me. But, like, to go to Japan is like a 10-hour trip. If you don't factor in the hours you're going to be at the airport, you know, eating lunch to begin with. Going to my, you know, hometown, despite being substantially closer, is like a 7.5-hour trip. It's not really that big of a difference, to be honest. And that's kind of like what we got going on in this Pittsburgh situation, dude. Is you can fly direct into, you know, Philadelphia from Vancouver. You can fly direct into, obviously, like New York. But, you know, those are not Pittsburgh, you know? To get to Pittsburgh, you have to do something else. But anyway, I'm not complaining too much. I'm just saying, I think, like, every connection, I would rather have, like, another 2 hours of flight time than a connection. But I think probably everybody's pretty much in the same boat on that one. So, what I was going to say is the reason I want to have episodes in the backlog, not many, but some, is because you don't want to get back, you know, we're going to leave at like noon Eastern time from Pittsburgh, and then we're going to fly for 2 hours, and we're going to have I was going to say an overlay. A layover. Whoa, I never noticed those words were just, you know, the Jordan Peele us versions of one another. But then we're going to take another 4.5-hour flight to Vancouver, and then I'm going to land and, you know, hey, what do you want? You want to get like a late night snack before we go to bed? No, sorry, honey. I've got to get all these anecdotes out on video while they're fresh, you know? It's kind of... It's just bad planning, I guess, is a good way to describe it. If I have one skill in this, and I think I have more than one skill when it comes to YouTube, Twitch, etc., etc. But if I have one skill, it's consistency. And the reason that I have consistency is because, you know, it's taken me a while to get to this point, but I understand time management. All it requires is looking frankly at your life and being like, okay, I have to do X task by Y date. If I do it today, is that going to be more or less painful than if I have to do it at the next available opportunity? If it's less painful to do it now, let's do it now. If it's more painful to do it now, maybe even still do it now, just to get it off of the books. But anyway, good stuff. Good stuff. And one of the I mean, you know, you can see for yourself, the items we've gotten are amazing at this point now. We went from, like, things being a little slow, so I didn't want to talk about Isaac, to things being so good we don't have to talk about Isaac. But suffice it to say, the one strategic thing I'll mention here is I think I'm just going to keep Mr. Boom, 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 I want you in my room. I think I'm just going to keep that as a stat enabler, thanks to illuminated bulb, and we're not going to worry so much about actually using it as a bomb. I would rather use my own bombs and keep my stat bonus, I think. Anyway, one of the consequences of having more variety on YouTube, and you might even see it not as a negative consequence, but as something that's okay, you know, the juice being worth the squeeze, for example. Is that the backlogs are a lot smaller, so, you know, being away for a little bit is probably going to lead to some slight disruption in, this is a tough call, but I think we'll take the stats. A slight disruption in, you know, some of the series, some of the stuff that was coming out every day will probably come out every other day. Just, you know, is the one potential pseudo-negative of doing more variety on YouTube, but because I don't travel that much anymore, it's not that big of a deal. Like, yeah, occasionally, you know, I mean, the thing is, when I was just recording Isaac, Slay the Spire, and maybe one other thing, my duties were very simple on a daily basis. I never had to ask myself what I was gonna play. I just got in my box and went, Slay the Spire. I got in my box and I said, Isaac, and then I just went, you know? So it's very conducive to getting a lot of stuff in the backlog. It's like meal prep, you know? If you have to cook a different dinner 7 days a week, it's gonna take more time than if you just on Sunday make up, you know, the same dinner 7 times and then partition it into Tupperware containers to dole out throughout the week. Now, what's the consequence? Well, the consequence is that, you know, you're gonna be eating lentil chili every single day. Some people like lentil chili every single day. Some people are like, oh my god, please give me, you know, a butter chicken today, or I'm gonna lose my freaking mind. And I think it's better this way. But that's the one potentially negative consequence. So I think Rise from Your Grave, ActRaiser, Book of the Dead is actually exactly what we want. And this time, we will actually give up stats to use it, because the effect that it has is cumulative. You know, once we get stuff out of Book of the Dead, it's not gone as soon as we use it. Like Mr. Boom, it gave us, or it gives us a bomb, and then it's gone. Book of the Dead, it gives us some orbitals, and they'll hang around for a bit. Does suck to lose the stats, but we'll get them back. This is a great run. Anyway, I'm excited well, I'm excited for a number of things. Josh and I have a shared circle of friends, many of whom, you know, since I moved to the West Coast, I have not seen. Usually, you know, like, I've seen them, but not for a while. Like, Malph's gonna be there. I haven't seen Malph in the flesh since 2017, right? So it's been like 2 years. And if you're like, well, that's a long time. It is, but to some extent, like, I hate to break it to you, but it's almost like A Wes Anderson sort of like, I wish that I knew what I knew now when I was younger sort of situation, you know? Like, yo, Mulligan is so good. It's sad, but to not see, you know, a friend in the flesh for a couple of years is kind of like, it's par for the course. It's one of those things they don't tell you about, you know, moving across the country. But you should probably, I suppose, be able to figure out for yourself. You know, did you have that melancholy moment? I'm assuming most of the people watching this have graduated at least from 8th grade. In 8th grade, I always had, or not always, I mean, I only graduated from 8th grade once, because I was so good at it. But, you know, people were, like, crying at my 8th grade graduation. They're like, I don't know when I'm ever going to see you again. And you're like, what are you talking about? We're going to the same, there's only 3 high schools in this whole town. We'll see each other at track meets, and we didn't even hang out. What are we doing this nostalgic, I don't know when I'm going to see you again stuff for? We sat next to one another in English and never exchanged any words. It's kind of like that, but like for real. But here's the thing about adulthood, and this is not meant to be an I'm old bit, and I know I have to get out in front of those criticisms because I make that reference all the time. But regardless, you know, you think that, you know, it's gonna be like a movie, so you're gonna know like the last time you're gonna see your, you know, maybe someone who's been like your childhood best friend for a long time. You're like, oh, this is the last moment we're gonna see one another. This is a tough pick, but I'm gonna stick with this, I think. But really, you kind of don't. Like, let me hit you. I was friends with a guy. He's a mutual friend of Malf and myself. All right, and he went to, well, we went to the same high school, so from like 10th grade onwards, we hung out now and then like in 12th grade and then college, we became really good friends. He went away for college, but then it didn't work out, so we came back to my hometown where I was going to college. We lived together, you know, for a little bit, while he was working in the city and I was going to school, and we hung out like all the time. That was like 2008, 2009, 2010, right? I went to Korea for a year, came back at the end of 2011, started 2012. We were hanging out all the time, and we had gone in and gotten an apartment together. Me, him, and his girlfriend. I've told this story for sure. And by the way, it's water under the bridge at this point. Like, if he's watching it or somehow made abreast of the situation, it's not like we're not friends. We still talk. But we had gone in on an apartment together. Me, him, and his girlfriend. We split the first month's rent and the security deposit, and we were gonna all live together. You know, as friends in the city. 2 guys, a girl, and a pizza place. Then, literally, and it was a pretty sick apartment too. Like, it was a 2-bedroom with a really nice shared living space, and it was cheap. It was like, I don't know, maybe like $600 or $700 a month for 3 of us to split, which is insane. Anyway, we paid them the security deposit. Literally like 2 days later, he texts me and is like, hey, I got some news. My girlfriend is pregnant, and, you know, like, without getting too into it, we're gonna be a family. Is that cool? To which I replied, that's not cool at all. It's like just about the least cool thing you could have told me. Like, I'm not stepping on your toes. You're welcome to engage on this adventure, and like, I'm happy for you, but simultaneously, you know, as a single 22 or 23-year-old guy with a job that requires me to, you know, talk and have relative silence around me whenever possible, I didn't sign up to live with a baby, especially when the baby's not mine. So he was like, I get it, but this is like, you know, it's happening. It wasn't like I came to him with an ultimatum. I just want to make that clear. I wasn't like, it's me or the baby. I was like, I get it, it's the baby. That's the way it's got to go. But simultaneously, like, no, I'm not gonna, like, we're getting out of this deal somehow. So I had to go, like, basically beg on my hands and knees to the landlord. And I was like, I went by myself because I was mad. But I went to the landlord and was like, hey, so you know how like my friend and I were gonna live here? It would be really nice if you let us get out of that deal that we'd already signed because my friend's having a baby and I don't want to deal with that. And she was like, this is really, you know, not a good situation. And I was like, thank you. You think that I asked for this situation? You think that I wanted to, you know, like I was so happy we had signed this agreement to be in a cool apartment, and you know, I was beginning my like professional working life basically, and then he's like, surprise, baby. And yeah, like I'm being selfish in the situation for being, I wasn't like mad at the baby, you know, I was mad at my friend for, I mean, I don't know if he just recently got the news, but hey, if you thought it was like a possibility, why'd you sign the lease, I guess? But regardless, you know, I think you're allowed to be selfish when it's your living situation. Regardless, where was I going with this? Where I was going with this, I was terribly used to that, is it all worked out in the end. I want that to be clear, because as a result of not living there, I lived with my parents just a little bit longer. Because I lived with my parents a little bit longer, when Kate was like, hey, you know, you want to move to Vancouver? I was like, I'm not locked into a lease anywhere. I can move to Vancouver. And then the man you see before you today was allowed to blossom. So, you know, sometimes things, they work out in the end even unexpectedly. But, you know, I went from thinking that I was going to be living with one of my best friends for at least the next 12 months to literally, like, since I moved from my hometown, haven't seen him since. Multiple reasons for that. One being I moved across the country. Another one being that he has 2 kids now and is very busy, and he seems happy. We talk from time to time. It's a melancholic thing, but it's also, he seems like he's in a good place in his life, and I'm happy for him, despite the turbulent situation that led to that point. So you don't know when the last time, or you know, maybe the next time you're gonna see your closest friends is. I know it sounds like I'm getting into like a somber moment, but that's not really the case. I guess the case is you just kind of like appreciate it when it happens. The other thing is, I don't know if anybody else has gotten like this when they got older, but like 2 years is not a long time. When I was in 10th grade, I was like, dude, 2 years? That's like half of the high school career. That's insane. Now I'm like, 2 years? Dude, that's like, I don't know. It's like 1,200 Isaac episodes. See you then. You know, stay frosty. So you take advantage of those moments when they show up. So that's one of the things I'm excited about, of course. Forgot what else I had going on beyond that. I mean, for excitement. I mean, it's just nice to get away, see a new city. We were looking at, like, what can we do in Pittsburgh? Because I think Kate and I are arriving, like, a day early compared to Mike. It's a consequence of the Pacific travel. You know, the other choice is, no matter what, when you fly PT to ET, you pretty much lose a day. Because if the flight time is 6 hours, you also lose 3 hours of time zone. So, you don't lose a whole day necessarily, but you lose a lot. So we're showing up a day early, and we're like, what to do in Pittsburgh? And then the Pittsburgh website was like, and look, I'm not trying to insult the bridge city, okay? The Pittsburgh website, like, on the header, it said, like, Pittsburgh has consistently been named one of the most visitable cities in the world. And it's like, what the? First off, citation needed. Secondly, isn't that like a backhand compliment? Like, other parts of the world are like, you know, we've been rated the most livable city. Pittsburgh is like one of those cities I would never live in, but yeah, you can visit from time to time if there's a Penguins game going on. So I don't, I'm not besmirching Pittsburgh. You know, it's urban politics. It all, you know, we fight each other, you know. Vancouver takes a lot of heat. Oh, there's no nightlife in Vancouver, you know. Sorry. Have you tried being 30 and married? Really solved a lot of my nightlife related problems. You know what we did last night? We went out and had some incredible ramen, and then came home and watched Dan Giesling play Tetris 99. Not my ideal night when I was 19. As a 30-year-old, it ruled. I got a good night's sleep. Watched another episode of Doomsday Preppers, and man, I'll tell you, they're getting up to some stuff on that show. That's the only nightlife I'm concerned about right now. So, like, I get it. Like, you know, people, nobody wants to hear that your city sucks. But I'll tell you, I've said this quite frankly. Sometimes people message me and they're like, I'm going on vacation to Vancouver. Do you have any advice for me? The not nice answer is don't. And the nice answer is eat some great food and go for, like, you know, go see the nature that is very much intermingled with the city proper. Because, like, Vancouver, and Kate and I have talked about this many times. As a tourist, I don't really know what you do. You know, it's a beautiful city to live in, but if you're there from out of town, I don't know what you do. You know, you go, you know, you can go skiing, okay. But people from Vancouver leave Vancouver to go skiing most of the time. Well, some of the time. You can, you know, Stanley Park is probably one of the best parks in the world, but, you know, without being rude, I've been to Stanley Park on many occasions. It's gorgeous, but sometimes you're like, yeah, I'm just kind of sick of walking around in the woods. I don't think it's necessarily a very tourist-friendly city. If you're here for a concert or a hockey game or something like that, for sure. If you're here for the World Juniors, if you're here for an event, definitely, or a conference, it's a great place to be. If you're, like, coming here and then you're like, you know, what must-see attractions are there? I'm like, dude, I don't know. Science World? Sorry, what's Science World? It's a science museum. Like, it's the same when I Googled Pittsburgh. I was like, what to do in Pittsburgh? And it was like the aquarium. And I was like, we got one of those. I'm sure if you're from Pittsburgh and you're going to Vancouver, you're like, the park. We got one of those. So, you know, good food that's the main selling point that I got, at least. Dude, we're crushing this run, by the way. Again, I don't want to, you know, I love Vancouver. It has its problems, as mentioned many times. But when people are like, I want to take a trip to Canada, where should I go? Dude, go to Quebec. Honestly, go to Montreal. Go to Montreal. Go to Quebec City. Do what you gotta do. You know, culturally, architecturally, you know, those are really unique cities, in my opinion, within North America. And within Canada specifically, but... What was I going with this? I was just saying I don't know what to do in Pittsburgh, okay? So I don't know. We'll do the Vancouver thing in Pittsburgh, you know? We'll Google, like, best sandwich. We'll go eat a sandwich at the Primanti Bros. We'll take an Uber out to the Sheets and get a, you know, 1:30 a.m. hot dog or something like that. But I don't know what else we're going to do apart from that. Everybody says go see a Penguins game. Yeah, well, the only Penguins game is the season-ending Penguins versus Rangers game. And it's at the exact time of Josh's wedding. And as much as he's an understanding guy, I think he would probably take offense to us ditching his wedding to see a hockey game that nobody that's at the game is actually a fan of the teams involved, you know? Where was I going with this? It doesn't matter. I'm having a great time on this Isaac episode, I'll tell you that much. This is a record time. Oh, that's my knee, dude. Probably top left. The other thing I was going to bring up, and it's a very common topic for conversation. Superhero movies. You're going to think I'm going to talk about Endgame. That's not the case unless we really run out of commentary. All I'm going to say about it is, tried to buy the Endgame tickets. We ended up getting them, so, you know, it's not a red alert situation. When they came out on Tuesday, we got them, but it did take a long time because, you know, essentially every theater in Vancouver is owned by this company called Cineplex, and apparently they didn't expect the movie to be so popular, so their website was down for 6 hours. People were like, why don't you just go see it at a landmark? It's a matter of principle, okay? The day I leave the biggest city in the amalgamated metropolis to watch the biggest movie of the year, like, that's when I've given up. Without being rude to New Westminster or Surrey, why should I have to leave New York City and go to Newark to see a movie that's going to be in theaters for 6 months, okay? So it's a matter of principle and civic pride at that point. But anyway, we got him. But dude, the trailer for the, I always want to call it The Joker, but it's just called Joker, with Joaquin Phoenix came out today. And I could not be less interested conceptually in an origin movie about the Joker, why so serious, etc., etc. And I saw the trailer, and the trailer absolutely slaps. I understand it could be misleading, probably is misleading. It's a Joker movie from the director of The Hangover, and the trailer has no business being that good. See, I'm not a Marvel fanboy. I'm a Marvel fan. The DC movies, if they can sell me, by all means, dude, I gotta admit, the Joker trailer is the closest I've been sold so far by a DC film, without a doubt. I'm in so far. We'll see how reviews go, because people are like, the Suicide Squad trailer was really good as well, and I'm like, was it though? The bullet casings fall in time with Bohemian Rhapsody. They should get an Oscar for Best Editing. Which I guess is ironic, because then Bohemian Rhapsody won Best Editing 2 years later. And that's the song in the... you get the idea. No, 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 no. Joaquin Phoenix, Joaquin Phoenix, Joaquin Phoenix, let me go. Dude, since it's from the director of The Hangover, they should have Zach Galifianakis and Ken Jeong show up. Mr. Chow, is that you? Dude, you gotta admit, that'd be pretty good. And then Robert Downey Jr. could turn to Benedict Cumberbatch and say, "No S, Sherlock." You get the idea. Whatever it takes. Okay, we're coming close to the end here. It's been a run so good it doesn't even bear mentioning. But I appreciate that, you know, because, I mean, we might record one more Isaac episode before we leave, but, always nice. It's pretty early in the morning, you know. Today, I was feeling, I don't want to say bummed out, but no joke, it's April, and this is the first day I've missed a workout since January. Not just because I have to work, but I also, like, screwed up my shoulder pretty bad. I'm hoping, like, with an extra, because we're gonna be away, you know, from Thursday to Sunday, basically. I'm hoping with what essentially amounts to a week of West, it ends up working itself out. But, you know, mentally, I'm like, it sucks to miss a workout. But, you know, take it from somebody who's torn his meniscus and then walked home on it. I learned a very valuable lesson about injury there, which is if something is sore, you could probably push through it. If something is actually hurting... Ooh, I punched my microphone. That's not going to help. If something's actually hurting, you're probably better off to just let it simmer for a little while, you know? Rather than tear something and require Tommy John surgery. Anyway, thanks for watching. I hope you guys have enjoyed the episode. If you did, click the like button. It helps out a great deal. Of course, subscribe if you want to see more in the future. For now, thanks for watching, and I will see you next time. See ya! If the episode will end. See ya!